Throughout the history of firearms, power has always been the loudest part of the conversation. Bigger calibers, higher velocity, greater stopping power. But there is another side of firearm engineering that is far more mysterious: the pursuit of silence. Not movie silence, not the soft, pew sound Hollywood invented. Real acoustic reduction, the kind of engineering designed to make a firearm as discreet as physically possible. In reality, completely silent firearms do not exist. Physics makes that impossible. Expanding gas, mechanical movement, and projectile velocity all create sound. But some weapons have come shockingly close to minimizing that signature. And among all the suppressed handguns ever created, one design stands apart in history. It wasn't built for the commercial market. It wasn't built for sport shooting. It was designed for a very specific purpose during a very specific time in history: covert operations. The result was one of the quietest handguns ever engineered. Today we're examining the legendary pistol that many experts still consider the quietest, purpose-built, suppressed handgun ever made. Not fiction, not myth, but real engineering built for the shadows. The birth of silent firearms. The idea of suppressing firearms dates back more than a century. Early suppressor designs appeared in the early 1900s when inventors began experimenting with ways to reduce the explosive sound of gunfire. The basic concept was simple in theory but difficult in practice. When a gun fires, rapidly expanding gases escape behind the bullet as it exits the barrel. That sudden expansion creates the sharp crack we associate with gunfire. A suppressor works by capturing those gases and allowing them to expand gradually through internal chambers before exiting the muzzle. This reduces the intensity of the sound wave. But suppressing a pistol effectively presents additional challenges. Semi-automatic pistols rely on slide movement and cycling to chamber the next round. That mechanical motion creates additional noise, and the escaping gas during the cycling process increases the overall sound signature. For truly quiet operation, engineers had to rethink the entire system. And that's where one of the most fascinating firearms ever built enters the story: the Welrod, the silent pistol of World War II. During World War II, British engineers working with the Special Operations Executive were tasked with creating firearms suitable for covert missions. Their goal wasn't battlefield firepower. Their goal was discretion. The result was the Welrod pistol, developed in the early 1940s by British designer William Godfrey de Lisle. It remains one of the most unusual handguns ever produced. The Welrod was not a typical pistol. It was a bolt-action handgun with an integrated suppressor that was built directly into the barrel assembly. This design choice was critical. By eliminating the slide movement found in semi-automatic pistols, suppressors typically provide. More internal space means more room for gas expansion, which lowers the pressure and sound level as gases exit the system. Third, the bolt-action system eliminated slide noise. In most suppressed semi-automatic pistols, the sound of the slide cycling can be surprisingly loud relative to the suppressed muzzle report. The Welrod avoided this entirely. And finally, the suppressor included rubber wipes that physically sealed around the bullet as it passed through, trapping gas momentarily before allowing it to escape slowly. This combination of design elements created one of the quietest handgun systems ever documented. How it was used. The Welrod was produced in limited numbers and issued primarily to specialized British and Allied units conducting clandestine missions. Its role was never meant to involve firefights or sustained combat. Instead, it was designed for situations where discretion was essential. The pistol's simple construction also made it practical for covert operations. It could be disassembled easily, and its relatively plain appearance helped it avoid drawing attention. Unlike modern pistols from companies such as Glock Geston MBH or Sig Sauer, the Welrod prioritized silence over speed or capacity. It typically held only a small number of rounds and required manual cycling between shots. But for the mission profile it was built for, those trade-offs were acceptable. Modern successors. Decades after World War II, the concept of ultra-quiet handguns still fascinates engineers and firearms enthusiasts. One modern example inspired by the well-rod design is the Station 6 pistol from Brugger and Tomet. This modern firearm revisits the same core idea, a manually operated pistol with an integrated suppressor designed to minimize sound as much as possible. While modern suppressor technology has improved dramatically, physics still places limits on how quiet firearms can become. Even the best suppressed pistol will still produce some sound. The mechanical action, the projectile impact, and residual gas escape all contribute to the acoustic signature. But the legacy of the well rod continues to influence suppressed firearm design to this day. The reality behind silent guns. Hollywood has created a powerful myth around suppressed firearms. In movies, they often sound like tiny whispers. Real firearms don't behave that way. Even the quietest suppressed pistol produces sound levels that are noticeable, especially in enclosed environments. Suppressors reduce noise significantly, but they cannot eliminate it. What they actually do is lower the sound intensity enough to reduce hearing damage and make gunfire less disruptive or detectable at longer distances. In other words, suppressors are about moderation, not invisibility. The well rod didn't make gunfire silent, but compared to conventional pistols of its era, it achieved something remarkably close. The quietest handgun ever made wasn't designed for popularity, competition shooting, or commercial success. It was built for a moment in history when silence mattered more than speed, capacity, or firepower. The well rod remains one of the most fascinating examples of specialized firearm engineering ever created. Its integrated suppressor, bolt-action design, and subsonic ammunition combined to produce a handgun that dramatically reduced the sound of gunfire in ways few other designs have matched. Modern suppressed pistols continue to evolve, but the principles established by that World War II design still guide engineers today. Because in the world of firearms, louder is often more powerful. But sometimes the most remarkable engineering happens when the goal is the exact opposite. Less noise, less attention, and a level of mechanical precision that still captures the imagination of shooters and historians alike.